So let's call the meeting of the policy committee to order. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Sorry. We have a vote to approve the motion.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion is approved. Agenda is approved. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Passes. So we don't have any action items today, but we just have two quick things to discuss. Sandy, I don't know if you want to.
Sure. So we have started looking at our MTSS policy. The last time that this has been updated was in 2016. Based on some new research and some new processes, we would like to update the policy. We have a district team that is actually working on creating the revisions to our current policy. After that is complete, we'll be opening it up to other stakeholders, to principals and families for updates. In the meantime, hand in hand with this policy, we are also creating guidance because this is our framework. However, we want to really create a blueprint for schools that will outline how they will implement this policy at the school level. We're also in the process of creating some needs assessments and really inventorying what schools have. And so that way we'll be able to give them a list of exactly what each tier is and what they currently have. And then of course, this will also have some professional development that will be embedded. So it's a really big project that we're working through. And also it involves a couple of different things. We also included in this is our academic piece, SEL, behavior, and then also attendance. One of the biggest things that we are trying to create is really having teams look at the whole child and having one team versus having individual teams all kind of doing the same thing. And really, instead of working in silos, really come together and work as one team to really look at that whole child. So that's currently the process we're in now. What you see in front of you is a draft, and what you see is the feedback. So what are some of those things that people thought were really great that they liked about the current policy? Because there was a lot of great things that were already written in this policy. So it's really adding on to it. And then on the other column, you'll see what we call our cool feedback. So what are some of those things that we want to consider in making some changes? So I don't know, Natalie or Julie, if you want to add anything that I may have forgotten, but that's pretty much the process we've been following. We've been going at it for a while. We started the work, Jewel, was it the spring?
Yeah, well,
Spring, we started kind of project managing. Last spring, we started kind of project planning it and mapping it out. And then we really started getting into the work this fall. And we have someone from the West Bay Collaborative that's really been helping us in leading this work and helping us be a thought partner as we've been meeting. Right now, the way the committee is, we have our district larger committee, and then we've broken the team into two. We have one piece that is the academic, who's really doing the same process but through the academic lens, which is being headed by Dr. Alvarez. And then we have our behavior SEL piece that's really being led by Natalie, who is our director of SEL and mental health. And then Julie is really the project manager who's overseeing the entire policy. And this is really the first time our district has ever had someone that's just dedicated to MTSS. Many other districts already have that. We have never. MTSS has always lived in special ed for some reason. So really, that was one of the other things in branching out in the restructure of my department, was having Julie really take and oversee this project. So
I'd say too, one thing I just remembered too is there's a state MTSS leadership team that was developed with RIDE and West Bay Collaborative and really the school health team. And so I worked at RIDE before coming back to Providence. Can't get enough of that. But this, I think that just nationwide, there's really like a need for bringing this back around. So connecting the RTI and the PBIS under one kind of organizational framework of the whole child for multi-tiered system supports. And so this work is being done at the state level so that we have a vision, like a shared vision of what this framework looks like, and then kind of bringing it down to the district level to mirror that work and continue that work at the district level.
Are there districts that do, other urban districts, I mean, that are kind of models, like best practices?
So we actually, the three of us sat in last spring and joined a community of practice that was with many districts.
It's actually still going on, so I'm
Yeah,
still
they
meeting
extended.
with them. They've extended it because there was such a need for all districts, so.
Yeah.
And Boston is not a Boston. So
Is-
Boston Public Schools has done a lot of work specifically around mental health and behavioral health and integrating that into the model.
We've sent some of our team members for training also, for PBIS training to help support the work. And we also, one of the things that was comforting is when we were on with those community practices, a lot of the same challenges we have, they have too. So it's kind of nice. What was nice about it is we were able to share best practices amongst each other. So some of the districts had already started some of this work. So really shared what they did, what they learned from putting, which I think has been helpful in us in being able to tackle this, enormous initiative. So.
Any other questions? I think we're good. Thank you very much. So, as we discussed before, the next policy committee meeting is January 4th. We can talk further about when.
You can
Yeah,
provide another update if you like.
Yeah, an update
We
would
might
be great.
even be
And,
done with us.
again, you guys should follow,
I think we'll be done with like a final draft. It's just the state having
State
other people have eyes on it.
Yeah, so
and we-
I don't want to interfere with that. That process is super important. So, follow your process.
Okay.
But you all are included in that stakeholder feedback, so it'll be ready for everybody else too.
Oh, yeah, I'm
Being able
game to go to a meeting or whatever, so let me know if I can be helpful. Thank you very much.
Elijah.
Yeah, I don't teach again until third week of January, so I got some time.
Aren't you
Be careful
lucky?
now.
Don't tell this group that.
Rubbing that in a little
I
bit.
was going to see it. No, don't tell this group that.
I have a lot of other things to do. It's not that. So, just checking the time. All right, we have a little bit of time to talk about the school closing policy. Did you guys get the chance to look at it? It's not very long. I know on social media, Senator Zurier made reference to it. I think he linked to it, and then I sent something out on Twitter that also linked to it. It's doing a lot of work on social media for something called the engagement at one that doesn't have much in it. So, and the last time it was reviewed was 31 and a half years ago, right? Which is something. Because we have had some school closings since then, so a little surprised that's but I think the sort of money lines in here, the ones that matter the most, sort of 3/4 of the way down the first page, whereas the consideration of any school for possible consolidation or operational change is a matter on which the community and the parents in the school must be kept fully informed, must be given an opportunity to be involved in the decision-making process. Which doesn't mean being informed of the decision-making process after the decision-making has been made. So there's that. Then on the next page, be it resolved, the school board will place on notice communities affected by proposed school closing, offer them an opportunity to speak in hearings. Following decisions to close schools, superintendent shall involve parents and interested community members in discussions to ensure orderly transitions. There's sort of a couple of different pieces of this. Parents should be involved in initial decision-making. Parents should have the opportunity to speak. There should be hearings in which parents can speak, and then parents and interested community members should be involved in the board of transition.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we should definitely just update this, get this from the typewriter format to something a Word document. And I think we should just update it with how we see fit and pass it for future governance.
I think so. And it feels like something we should, I mean, I know we're in this unusual circumstance now of state control, but it feels like we should be writing policy for the future.
I
right?
fully agree.
Yeah.
So one thing about this is it kind of reads like a resolution,
Yeah, we just need
It does. It absolutely does.
and I don't know why. I mean, it says policy at the top.
I mean, look at the date.
Yeah, I know.
It
Still,
just had a
so-
different way of
so kind of
operating at that point.
comes off like a resolution.
Yeah.
And then where, because the buildings are owned by the city, ultimately, I feel like there isn't very much, there's not a lot of language that references the city in here either.
No, and there's a part of me that wonders whether there isn't another more recent policy that touches on some of that, because there's like a buildings and facilities policy, like because it's separate.
So maybe we can take that one and merge it with this one.
Page. Yeah, and we can certainly, rewrite this in a form that is not a resolution. I think you're right, it's just rewrite a resolution.
And include it in there somewhere, because they're the cities. I mean, part of the reason why we're in the situation that we're at is that we have these buildings that have gotten zero to no maintenance in so many years. And so even with our new buildings, after 10, 15, 20, like, there has to be in the language somewhere that the city will be responsible for regular, inspection and updating of, as necessary, of our buildings.
Well, part of the problem is actually a state financing problem. I remember when I was very involved in trying to get the bond issues on the ballot 5 or 6 years ago. One of the issues was that Rhode Island, unlike some other states, like Massachusetts, for example, we do not have a dedicated, consistent funding stream for school facilities, upkeep, and construction. It's only once stuff falling down that you can essentially apply to RIDE for money and get money to do it. Whereas Massachusetts has like a dedicated funding stream, which I think is a portion of the sales tax or income tax. I forget what it is, 1.5% one of them. So that there is this kind of constant flow of monies that you're not having to, I don't know, do like George Steinbrenner and run Yankee Stadium down until you can convince the taxpayers to pay. That's not a way to do stuff at all. All HVAC systems, all roofs have an expiration date. You know that, right? And that part's frustrating. So, we obviously can't legislate for the state what we want, but
We can inform them.
yeah. we can inform. Yeah.
So like, we can just inform them, like, if we were to put something better than this together by January, and something like, okay, considering your agendas and to-dos for 2023, 2024, consider this. I mean, we just got a whole bunch of money for our school buildings, but at this rate, between inflation and the cost of everything, and how slow everything is, and how
Well,
I don't
there's process guidelines too. I mean, I don't know how much of this we can address in this, but the survey a couple of years ago, of school facilities issues nationwide, I think it was like $1.9 billion for repairs and construction that needed to be done statewide, of which about half was Providence. So the money that we bonded for at the local and the state level is well short of that now. So it's, how are the decisions being made and who's making them? How we're spending money. And I mean, we've talked about this at the board meeting, school board comments, but given recent events, it's almost like we're all watching the Vatican through the white smoke. Because the decision is a black box. And we still don't even know what the decision is made. Right? And we're told there's a comprehensive plan. But
And I think as it seems like there's going to be a high attendance for the next meeting, maybe we'll just continue the conversation.
I think so.
But I think that the conclusion is we need to update the policy. We need to have something improved, whether it has teeth. Starting to take over, but hopefully after during the school board year.
Yeah, and just to get our commitments down on paper. This is why I wanted to put this on this agenda, just so that we all got our eyeballs on it. Because, the headline in the newspaper today is the commissioner saying the school board has nothing to say. And I am not willing to concede that point. So there's got to be more conversation.
So can we find any other related policies
I'll
to
look
this?
for it, because they all are on that plan. So I'll see if there's something else on there that's relevant to it. I actually tried to search for other cities' school closing consolidation policy, but they just, we have Yvonne and Rachel, that was really easy to do. Now, I don't really know how to do that, but I tried to do it.
What particularly were you looking for?
Well, I would like to see what other urban school districts, school closing and consolidation policies are, the school board policies that they've written for those kinds of things. How are those decisions made? How is the community involved? I just want to get a sense of models out there for what exists, because the policy we have is really more of a resolution than a policy. It's kind of a statement of preference, not something more comprehensive than that. So, we can find a few other examples. Maybe what's the urban goal rate?
Council of Great City Schools.
Council of Great City Schools might be a source of help for that. It wouldn't surprise me if it was.
I can follow up with that. For
Yeah.
you. Then the other thing is I think the school building committee is a newer entity, obviously since 1991. So that will come into play too, how it integrates with your policy.
And who is on, we can talk about this in the meeting too, but who is on the school buildings?
I think Tyrell's on it. There was a couple of school board members, but
There's a difference between being on it and just attending as interested, vested people. There is a committee, like they ask for quorum, they ask for attendance, they ask for quorum, and over the summer, they canceled a whole bunch of meetings or postponed because they couldn't get quorum. So there's a core group of people that make up the committee, and then everyone else is welcome to attend. I do not believe that I'm part of any quorum that they require, and Terrell shouldn't be either.
that's accurate, but I think he was on there as a school board designee, but I can get you a list of who's on it for quorum purposes. And, anything else as far as how its membership's made up, but it's kind of a combo. I think John Igliozzi was on it.
Right.
People from city finance would show up, so.
What's the charge of the committee? I guess that's the other question, right? You don't want to appoint committees that are consulted by those who are actually making the decisions, or the committee, it can be a committee that actually makes the decision. I guess I'm curious which one of those two things or other.
Let me dig into the language a little bit, and that'll kind of inform how I would answer that.
In my experience attending a couple of those meetings, you walk in, they have a presentation very similar to what we're gonna get tonight. They give a status update, they vote on things that require voting, but again, I don't know who those voting members actually are. But they are from my perspective, they propose things, they organize things, they have internal conversations, they do whatever the homework is, and then they present a proposal to the committee or the people that are in the room, and then they just pass it. But again, over the summer, I can count several months that committee was postponed or canceled. That committee meeting was postponed or canceled due to lack of quorum or whatever other
So it's
thing
sort
that
of
happened that
the
conflicted.
city's legal rubbers, because the city owns the buildings. So
Yes.
the-
So there was definitely people from Ride there, definitely from the city there, from PPSD and members of the community. So, but who is actually on the committee that have a voting right? Don't know.
I mean, it's interesting because we've, over the years, in the course of the Lorz's terms, we've had a variety of different, very community-inclusive conversations about building facilities. You know, they even hired that architectural firm that spent a bunch of time developing the process, focus group, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know where all that feedback and learning went, and it's included in what we discussed
Well, we can
now.
learn
so-
more later, but I
Yeah.
remember one of the last school building committee meetings that I attended, we weren't talking about closures, we were talking about renovations. And Broad Street School was one of those schools that was slated for renovation, not closure.
Yeah, and I know was it Gilbane or whatever the engineering firm was, they made it pretty clear which schools were replacement as opposed to
Yeah.
repair, but that was.
Also, the Peace Street School was supposed to be on the up and up, and since then, apparently it's no longer. As far as the new construction, so I don't know what the disconnect is between what was discussed publicly in that committee versus the decisions that have been made public in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I think we should. So we need a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Need a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Make sure we pick up the draft ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.